Okay, we're going to discuss support and resistance. There are so many different ways different people do their support and resistance, and I have tried all kinds of different methods. And the method I have found that works the best for me is I will open up the daily chart on a stock, and I will start finding support and resistance lines on that daily chart. I'll just start at the bottom here, and let's see here. You see these two red candles line up together. Personally, I like to put my support on the body of the candle, but as you can see here on this bottom red candle right here, it actually lines up with the wick of this top of this green candle over here. And in TradingView you get your crosshairs, which helps a lot in finding support and resistance. You could see we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, at least 5 different closes on this line right here for support and resistance. So that's definitely a line I would be using. You know, the more closes you get on one area, the better. Again, let's find some more. See where that leads us. And I don't like to have too many lines all in the same area. I just don't do it. Here's a good line right here. You can see this green candle, all these closed right here, several closes over here. Here's a good one right here. We got candles closing above it and below it. Perfect. Let's keep searching this chart. There's another one. You can see this red candle closed here, and then at the top of this candle, this wick is pretty near right there. Another close right here. Got another one there. So what I'll do is I'll go to the current trading range on a particular stock. So AMC's terrible on the 1 minute. Here we go. So we would want to be, you know, within somewhat above the trading range, somewhat below the trading range of the last day. And I'll be looking for support and resistance areas in that general area the night before, the morning before the market opens. And then during pre-market, I will also be looking for support and resistance lines just before market open. So I will grab the bottom of the pre-market, the top of the pre-market, and then the other two things that you will definitely want is yesterday's high and yesterday's low. So often in so many stocks, the high and low of yesterday come into play in a major way for support and resistance. Absolutely vital that you have those in your support and resistance lines. Okay, and really you could get by most of the time just with yesterday's high, yesterday's low, and a bottom support area for pre-market and a top resistance area for pre-market. Now what I did on a daily chart, that's kind of what I do for key levels. I'll get them outside of this pre-market and yesterday's high and low range, so that in case we have some major movement in that stock the next day, I have some support and resistance lines to look at least 3 up high and 3 down low. Now let's talk about what resistance is. When the stock is going up in price, moving up, the top line up here, this is resistance. Okay? When it's going down in price, going down, you hit a support line. Now let's say you break out of this support line. Now we're in this next range. Now that support becomes resistance. Vice versa. When you get outside of resistance into the next range, that resistance becomes support. Old support becomes new resistance. Old resistance becomes new support. Now let's talk about how to find the best support and resistance lines. The more candle closes you can get on any particular area, the better that line is. You can see here we have 1, 2, 3, 4 candle closes all right there. Let's go over here. We got another 5, 6. So this is going to be a particularly pretty strong support line for AMC. You could see out in the pre-market areas it became a factor too. So that's definitely going to be a strong area. But also you have to consider this is only the 5-minute chart. And if you're going to be playing the 5-minute or the 1-minute, then it's okay to use this as a support and resistance line. I generally don't mark support and resistance lines outside at any lower of a time frame than 30 minutes. That doesn't mean that I don't pay attention to support and resistance lines that you'll see in the 5-minute and the 1-minute chart, because you definitely do have to pay attention to support and resistance lines that come up to that while you're in a trade, because it is highly likely that when price moves it'll stop in that area. So it's something you've got to. Now we're on SPY, so let me show you what I mean. Let's say SPY double bottoms right here a little bit after open. That is something I am always going to pay attention to, double bottom, double top, when I'm playing the 1-minute chart. As you can see later on down the road, when you got into it, let's say you got into a trade down here on this breakout and you were hoping you had a support and resistance line way up here or something like that, but let's say it reversed right here. Well, it reversed because way over here you had a double bottom that you weren't paying attention to. So you got to pay attention to that stuff and understand that there's a high probability that when you're in a trade it's going to end up stopping or start consolidating or reversing when it gets to an area like that. So no matter what your support and resistance lines are, you've got to pay attention to double bottoms, double tops, where price stopped prior in that day. When you're playing on your chart during the day, you want to always look left before getting in a trade and while you're in a trade, so that you have a good exit area.